So it's a new year, it's a new day, it's a new opportunity to figure out what we're doing with our lives. And that's really what I'm trying to review, because this last year has been this huge year of change where, it's my first full year out of prison. It's the first experience of like trying to be on my own and figure out what I want to do and who I want to be. And losing the structure of the relationship and then taking time off from work or trying to figure out where I want to go and how I want to focus my energy has been incredibly unbalancing, but it's also been really important because it's been the way that I get to know myself and get to know who I want to be in the world. Hello, extra good citizen. It's really a process because I realize that life is this like series of tiers, right? Like we continue to grow and change, and every time we begin to kind of plateau and feel comfortable, there's some new challenge, there's some new thing that we have to face and address. And so that's what I'm trying to look at now. What I realized is that I kind of lost the role that I had while I was in prison, which was to make myself happy, like to find the things inside of myself and in my life that gave me the sense of contentment and meaning that I was looking for. And it's been easy to get caught up in the world and chase things and want to have experiences and want to go do. And especially now that I'm out of a relationship, there's this desire to go like make up for lost time or go date or go do these other things. But I can see through that to where it leads. Like I had a conversation with somebody today that was really meaningful about how they basically kept chasing things their whole life. They were chasing money, or they were chasing relationships, or chasing sex, or chasing drugs. They were just chasing after something and never being present with what is. And so I'm really trying to come back to that place, because when I lived this kind of monastic lifestyle, when I was meditating and reading and exercising and doing everything every day on this really set schedule, I found a sense of peace that I'd never found before. And it was bizarre that I found that in prison, that was probably where I was like the most content or the most whole. But it was a lesson that I learned, and then I didn't know how to do that out in the world. Like in Zen, there's the ox herding pictures, which is like the idea of seeking enlightenment, and the last one is to go out into the world, like to go back to the marketplace. Ram Dass said the same thing. He says, if you think you're enlightened, like go spend the weekend with your parents, because it's really easy to be on a mountaintop or in a cabin or in like a meditation room or a prison cell and be okay, but to face all the challenges of the world, to try to figure out a way to integrate all that and be in relationship with other people and be in relationship with work and challenge and social justice, and it's difficult. It's really difficult. And then being in relationship with myself, with all those urges and all those distractions and all those, desires to make up for lost time, that's really a struggle. And then I don't stop and just read a book, or I don't stop and just make a fire and sit in front of the fire, or I don't stop and just have a cup of coffee on the porch. But what I found is that those are the things that really bring me the sense of contentment. Not that that's going to make me happy. It's like, remember when I started meditating, I was wondering, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? Like, is it going to bring me enlightenment? But what I found was it's not just the meditation. Like, it's if you sit on a pillow for 20 minutes a day, like, great. But can you carry that into your life? So it was bringing that space, like finding that space with all the craziness going on in my head, or all the things that I was feeling, all the things that I was going through, and having space to experience that without being swept away by it. And then being able to take that off of the kind of like sitting period and bring it into the world and be in a conflict and be like, hey, I don't have to respond this way. I don't have to jump into this. I don't have to be reactive. I have space to be there. And Viktor Frankl talked about that. He said, freedom is a space between stimulus and response, which is essentially the space at which we don't just react or we don't just respond. And he talked about this, while he was in a concentration camp, the profound experience that he had. And it's really been my experience that it's not the good times that shape us. It's not the good times that make us better or make us kinder or make us the people we want to be. It's the challenges. And therefore, the people who say seek discomfort or seek challenge, because that's really where we grow. And I find that in a lot of people. I find that people that have had their lives, basically be way too easy, don't know how to deal with that. And I have a friend who's raising his kid, and he's intentionally like putting challenge in his life. He's intentionally like creating situations where his son will be unhappy or will be struggling or will be trying to adapt. And he doesn't do it to be, difficult, but he does it so that his kid learns to be resilient. He learns to overcome. He learns to be uncomfortable. And I think that's really important because, we want to baby our kids. We want to baby ourselves. We want to like just have a life without pain or a life without suffering. And I was always told that pain and suffering were wrong. I was always told they were things to be avoided or they were things to hide. And what I found is that when I actually do that, it makes a big difference. You hope the world is treating the tribe chief well. What's on the horizon for the nonprofit? So we have a bunch of meetings this week. I'm going to Houston later this week, but we're meeting with the head of juvenile justice, or the former head of juvenile justice, which I'm really excited about, who we're hoping to get on the board, basically. We're going to try to stack the board with enough people, with enough connections that we could drive a lot of resources, especially state resources, and then figure out what the best way it is to provide those services. Because we have two options right now. We can either continue to provide direct services like the adult reentry classes that we're doing right now, We could move to like an online format or an online content. We're doing reentry classes and DBT and other things that I think are important and making them available online. But I think in doing that, we lose the relationship, because I think the curriculum is important, but reentry and support is really about relationship. It's about building relationships with people who've had similar challenges and have overcome them and are now working, to live their best lives. So I think I would prefer to either do direct service or move towards a foundation model, which is, we have a lot of nonprofits in our area. We have a lot of groups in our area that are doing amazing work. And we want to go, the meeting, so we have a meet and greet or something like that on Saturday from 3 to 6, I think, at a place. I posted on Facebook or on Instagram. I'll post a couple times coming up. But yeah, we have a bunch of us getting together and it's open to the public. But then additionally, if we become a foundation model and we find these groups that are doing good work already, but don't have access to resources or training or finance or whatever it is that they need, we can then direct that towards them to make sure they're empowered to do their best work. Because really my goal is to not have someone from the outside of a community or outside of an experience coming in and telling somebody what to do. I would like people with lived experience. People who've been incarcerated can talk about the process of reintegration into society. People who've struggled from substance abuse can help with people trying to recover from substance abuse. People who've struggled with abuse and trauma and difficulty can get clinical training to help that. It's one of the things that I really want to work on and I really think is important. So again, if we can get enough people on board and we can get enough kind of funding and like clout, we can hopefully start doing that on a bigger scale. Because again, some of the groups that are doing the best work have the smallest finance or the smallest reach or the smallest, access to training, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't just be these big national nonprofits that aren't actually doing anything that raise all the money. It should be the guys on the ground that are getting the resources they need. And again, oftentimes that's training rather than just money. But I look forward to seeing you there. It is going to be interesting. So we met in Pennsylvania last year, but we didn't tell anybody. It was just kind of everybody getting together and spending some time and connecting and sharing our experiences being incarcerated, but also the stuff we've done since getting out. And then we said, okay, we want to figure out a way to share this with the world. So we're going to do this 2 or 3 times a year, and we're trying to figure out how to pay for it, because it costs a lot of money out of pocket to fly and to get an Airbnb and do these. But we want to connect, and we want to connect with local nonprofit groups. Like we may be speaking at the jail, we may be going to the prison library or the prison museum. We may just be doing some things in the Houston area, and one of those things is connecting with people. So we've got somebody from the public defender's office. We've got somebody, I think, from the prosecutor's office. We've got a Texas Ranger who's coming, who's really like a big advocate of change in the system. So yeah, we're just trying to bring voices together and kind of spread the awareness, to spread the experience of basically what we've gone through, what we think we can do to make it better, and then find out what people need. Like, what resources do people need? How can we support their mission? Because I think ultimately, if we just make it about the past, we get kind of mired down. But if we make it about the present and what we can change and what we can do, and again, if we use a platform to drive resources and drive awareness and drive funding, drive whatever, I think that allows us to have the biggest impact. And it's really what we're looking for. Because if we don't have an impact, like, what's the point in doing this? I was talking to somebody today who was talking about their job, and they work in insurance. And so what that means is they deal with people oftentimes when they're at their lowest point, when their house is burned down, or when, somebody's hit their car, or when, somebody in their family has died. And in a way, that seems like kind of like a soulless job or like an unimportant job. But they connect with somebody and they're able to hold space with somebody in a time that is incredibly vulnerable, incredibly difficult. So they're able to make an impact in that place. I think that's it. Like, we just show up to whatever we're doing and we bring that space and we bring that intention. We bring, whatever good we can, and it has an impact on the world. Though, I mean, obviously there are certain jobs I would feel are much more satisfying than others. But again, if we have the opportunity to spread it, I think we can make an impact. And I think it's little by little, because this wasn't possible 10 years ago. There was nobody on social media, talking about prison, talking about reform, talking about the things we're talking about, and getting the reception that we are. Like, TikTok wasn't, I don't even know if TikTok was around, but they weren't flying anybody out to go speak at their corporate offices. We didn't have people asking us to come speak at universities. So I think it's a really encouraging thing. I think, so one of the projects that a friend of mine did was put together a constitutional rights kind of little pamphlet that he wants to give out at schools. And it's basically about people learning their rights, because oftentimes people will, like you said, talk themselves into a cage. People waive their right to silence, or they don't understand, or they get tricked. I remember they tried to trick me. The way they put it, like, they read me my rights, but then also were like, well, even though we said that, like, you don't want to not say anything, because if you don't say anything, well, it could be really bad for you. And so I think oftentimes people don't understand that, or their rights in a traffic stop, or their right in certain situations. And I think it can really be scary, because I look at people like Robert Davis, who is in my area, who was basically tricked into confessing to a crime. He was held for like 36 hours. He had some learning disabilities. Like, he was struggling with a lot of things. And he ended up in this terrible situation where he confessed to a crime that he didn't do. And they had to know he didn't do it. Like, he didn't even get the details right, like the things they got him to confess to. But he was in prison for 11 years before they finally cleared him and were like, hey, like, this is bad. Because the person who committed the crime said, yeah, he had nothing to do with it. Like, he wasn't even there. You guys told me that I had to testify against him or I'd get the death penalty. So he was basically, like, forced in his mind to testify against this other guy. And this other guy was basically browbeaten over, 36 hours to plead guilty to a crime that he didn't commit. And that just highlights what's broken in the system and highlights the fact that people don't often know their own rights or know their options or know what's going on. So that is something I think we can definitely do and we can definitely improve. Because I think the more people know about their constitutional rights, the more people know about the process, the more people know about the judicial system and the penal system, the more change we're going to have. Because a lot of things are the way they are because nobody knows. And if people actually saw that, if they saw the daily conditions, if they saw the daily situation, they would be pretty upset. Like, they wouldn't be happy. Oh my. I don't even know. God, your child died in solitary confinement. I mean, how do you, I don't even know how you process that. It's really difficult. There was a guy that I knew growing up who actually had committed a pretty horrible crime, but who took his own life in solitary confinement. And it was rough on me because I'd known him for a long time. But any New Year's resolutions? So I don't generally make resolutions as far as like one thing. I'll try to bring like intention or focus. One of the things that I want to do is I want to be okay in myself this year. That is one of the things. I want to focus on, the mindfulness and the meditation, the reading, the exercise, the things that are kind of a foundation. And I want to focus on connecting with other people and not connecting with other people in a way that like I need them to make me feel better. I need them to make me okay, but like build connections in my life that are really meaningful and are really kind of healthy because I haven't always had that. And even coming out, I mean, Courtney is an amazing person, and we had really good elements to our relationship. In the end, I felt like we were kind of codependent, where we were in this space where we were kind of like feeding off each other in a negative way, and I don't want to go back to that. I want to lose myself in a relationship or in a situation again. I want to be able to be present, and I want to be able to be as content or as happy or as capable as I can on my own before I ever look at getting back into a relationship. Well, thank you, everybody. I just wanted to check in. It's Sunday night, and we're having a great time. And again, I will see you in Houston next Saturday. I'm really excited about that. I got the little notice on my thing that it's like 2 days and something until I can check in, and I'm looking forward to it. So I hope everyone has a good night, and I will talk to you soon.